Am I the a-hole for sitting in the front seat with my friend and telling his GF to sit in the back? Am I the a-hole for reiterating my house rules to my in-laws? Am I the a-hole for criticizing my friend for judging my BF's OBGYN career path? We were heading somewhere with my friend and his GF, and I called shotgun and ran in front of her and took the passenger front seat. My friend said we're not doing shotguns and the front seat only goes to his GF or his grandma when either of them is present, and that even his mom gives up the front seat out of respect for the GF and their relationship. I said I don't care about the overdramatic stuff. I'm sitting in the front. He told me I either go to the back or he's not taking me. His car, his rules. His GF stood there silent the whole time, but I could tell she was annoyed. I felt awkward, and when I feel awkward, my brain freezes, and I told his GF to go sit in the back and let this drama go. I sat in the front and told my friend to get in and drive. He told me to get out of the car and find another way to get myself to our destination since I have no respect. Am I the a-hole?
YTA. It's his car. It's common courtesy that your so sits up front. The only time I have ever made a girlfriend sit in the back is if my mother is with me. I would have absolutely kicked you out of the car as well. You not only disrespected your friend's girlfriend but your friend as well. You have no right to demand a seat or ride in someone else's vehicle and no right to tell his girlfriend to sit in the back. I don't know if this is how you act frequently, but in this post you're the big time. Chivalry isn't dead, but it is with you. Edit. Typo. For me, the unspoken rule is the closest to the owner of the car or driver sits on the front seat. I had a similar event happening to me. I 23F was the driver and was the first time I've ever seen my friend S22M girlfriend 20F. She was rude in other ways before. In like 30 minutes I met her. We got to the car like demanding or stating like it was obvious that I had to go get something in my friend's house with them because she wanted. We got to the car as she demanded. I stayed silent BC. It was a complicated situation, and when my friend tried to open the front seat door, she stopped him, sent him to the back and entered the car. It was very uncomfortable to me be side by side to someone I literally just met versus one of my best friends. Then she proceeded to skip the songs playing on my car. That day was a lot of rude by her, but we are good now. She for sure fixed some behaviors. It was 3 years ago. OP, YTA. YTA, it might not seem important to you, but just because something isn't important to you doesn't mean it's not important to others. If their mom even sits in the back out of respect, and for her to have that seat, then that should say something. I'm sure she did just stand there and didn't say anything. She probably felt really awkward that you were making a deal out of where everyone was sitting in the car. Also, being a wackward doesn't excuse you from being a jerk. You can't just tell her what to do like she has to listen to you. That's just weird and not okay. To sum up, it really sounds like you're jealous of their relationship and possibly feel like you're losing your friend and aren't a priority. I promise you, if you keep acting like an asset you will lose your friend. You should be happy that your friend is with someone that makes them happy. They want to make that person a priority, and that's their decision. They're doing it because of their feelings for their significant other, and that's completely valid. It really doesn't have anything negative to do with you. What isn't valid is you actively trying to disrupt that because it isn't about you. TLDR, YTA, you're in the wrong. If you value the friendship you have with this person, apologize to both him and his girlfriend. Otherwise, he's probably not going to be your friend for long. YTA and hypocritical. You hate drama, but you created plenty of it by refusing to sit where you were asked to sit. I don't agree with how your friend ranks the people in his life and puts his mother in the back, but it is his ride, and so he makes the rules. You could have skipped the argument and avoided the brain freeze you're trying to use as an excuse for making direct demands of them both. If you had simply got in the back, you would have driven to your next destination and there would have been zero drama. If I were you, I'd start by apologizing to the girlfriend, then your friend. If this is the only weird thing you've done, he may be willing to forgive you if you start by appreciating the girl and putting her first the way he wanted you to do at the time. Making amends with her could go a long way towards showing him that you can respect her place in his life. GL. Oh no, you're the friend that's going to chew out your bro. For not having more time to hang out with you because he is spending time with his GF future wife and at YT and not to bash. The car thing is one of those things that's different for everyone. But basically letting the couple have the front seat is a sign of respect for that relationship. For example, if grandma was in the car, you and girlfriend would been in the back out of respect for grandma and friend's relationship and bond, not based on her age. See what I'm getting at? You physically jumped in front of her to get in the front seat. That's like you saying to your friend, I don't care who you are to him, my comfort is more important. You not caring about the most important thing in your friend's life means you're lacking a bit as a supportive friend. It's like you're saying you don't see how important she is to your friend and you don't care to try. By your questions, you seem to be truly curious. I hope this helps. If you understand what we are all trying to say and you see the perspective, go to friend and his GF, apologize simply. Hey man, I did some thinking and I didn't realize how rude what I did was. To his GF, GG, I'm sorry I was disrespectful. I understand now why it was wrong for me to play around like that. Not going to happen again, I apologize. Just be sincere and you can keep your friend dynamic strong. Good luck.
Am I the a-hole for reiterating my house rules to my in-laws? My husband and I take our shoes off in our house. Every time my mother-in-law has visited our house, she has found a way to walk through the house in her shoes. She is not just forgetting, she's making conscious decisions. I won't go into detail, but it's not just forgetfulness. The last time she was in our house was 2 years ago, Thanksgiving. She purposely walked through the living room in shoes. She hasn't been back to our house due to the pandemic, but even before COVID, I was adamant with my husband that I would have a serious discussion with her before she could come in again. The in-laws want to come for Thanksgiving this year. I sent them a message reiterating that they need to follow this house rule or we will be meeting them in hotels and Airbnbs from now on. Here's an excerpt, included since tone is important. I have to remind everyone that we take our shoes off in the house. No exceptions. That means every single time you wear shoes outside, no shoes inside. I will have a chair by the door so you can sit to put your shoes off and on. 99% of our guests respect this rule, and I hope I can have a stress-free Thanksgiving knowing that my guests respect the one house rule that I ask them to follow. Last Thanksgiving we hosted, I felt I had to be constantly vigilant, and that is stressful and means that I don't enjoy the holiday with my in-law family. I hope to have a peaceful, stress-free holiday and that we can continue to invite guests into our home. If not, we will need to meet people who wear shoes in our home at Airbnbs and hotels and not in our home. They told my husband they feel unwelcome now. Husband and brother-in-law say I was abrasive and aggressive. I was genuinely trying to assert my house rules without being mean. I do struggle with expressing myself, and I do want a respectful relationship with my mother-in-law. Am I the a-hole?
I agree. If OP had simply said I'd appreciate you not wearing shoes in the house for XYZ reason, it would have been fine. Going on a paragraph-long rant about it puts her in AH territory. All OP had to do was send a reminder and then say it to their face in person as they're greeted indoors. If nagging is what needs to happen, then nag. If they continue to be belligerent about it, stop inviting them over. Buy a box of disposable booties that go over your shoes. Or encourage them to bring slippers if they don't like not having the support of shoes. At the end of the day, the in-laws are being intentionally ignorant of the house rules, but OP is being over the top with the message. It should have been phrased nicer and come from both OP and the husband. Essentially calling people out is going to make for an even tenser holiday. NTA. Where I come from we also don't wear shoes inside our homes unless of course they're inside shoes. It can get extremely frustrating if you keep on telling someone not to do something and they keep doing it. As you said, she's clearly not forgetful, so she's doing it on purpose because she doesn't care about your house rule or who knows why, but it's really disrespectful. For people saying it's been 2 years since she was last in your home, it doesn't matter if this is something she has been doing all the time every time she comes over. Maybe instead of generalizing your message you could have spoken to her one-on-one and reiterated this house rule, especially if all your in-laws respect this rule except your mill or had your husband do it. If they do come over as someone said, stand there and make sure she takes her shoes off before you let her further in the house. This may seem extreme to some, but maybe it will finally sink into her head that she has to remove her shoes to enter your home. Perhaps even put a sign up that says remove shoes here. From your comments it seems you've done everything to try to accommodate her in your own home and she still disrespects you by not following this one house rule. Don't let her come over if it happens again this time. NTA, I can't believe you put up with it for over a decade. I would have stopped inviting her over after the first couple of years. My kid crawls and rolls around on the floor randomly all the time, regardless of guests being around. I can't be chasing after all of my guests cleaning after every single step they take because they're too lazy to take off their shoes. I provide indoor slippers of various sizes to guests that really don't like walking bare feet, but none of them had issues with taking off their shoes at the door. My mill and Phil even brings their own slippers every time they visit since they stay for days to weeks. Your mill sounds honestly irritating.
Am I the a-hole for criticizing my friend for judging my BF's OBGYN career path? I, 30 female, have been dating my BF, 31 male for about 2 years. In that time, he finished his OBGYN residency training and began working at a private practice. We have a very happy relationship with great communication and we're heading towards engagement. I recently caught up with a college friend, 29 female, who I hadn't talked with in a while. I'm not on social media a lot, so people who I haven't kept up with often don't realize I'm with my BF, especially because we started dating right before the pandemic and haven't traveled together for weddings or anything. When I told my friend that my BF was an OBGYN, she said, "OMG, are you serious? He looks at vaginas all day? Doesn't that make you insecure that he does that for a living?" I asked her what she meant. She said, "Do you ever wonder if he's judging yours? Or do you get jealous that he looks at other people's vaginas constantly?" I was super angry when I heard this. For one, that makes him sound pervy and unprofessional. He does look at vaginas for medical reasons and is always completely professional with his patients. Second, I really resented the implication that our relationship is lacking or that I have a reason to be insecure about his faithfulness to me. Third, I think this reasoning is sexist and no one would ask that if I was dating a female OBGYN. I responded, "That's actually really messed up that you said that. It makes me angry and I'm going to stop this conversation now." And then I hung up the phone. She hasn't reached out to apologize. I'm now wondering if I overreacted. I feel bad. Reddit, am I the a-hole for calling her out like this?
I'm gonna go with nah. I understand why it was very insulting to you because you are familiar with the concept of his career, but I don't think your friend meant to be as rude as you took it. She absolutely could have phrased her curiosity better, but you could have been more patient. Some people are going to find it weird and they are going to ask. If I were you, I would have some form of stock response to make it clear how insulting it is without causing fights. It absolutely doesn't bother me because he's a professional and there is nothing sexual about his job. It's a medical field like any other ... And actually, he would be really upset if he heard you say that, so please respect him as much as I do lay on the guilt without the anger. I don't think you're the asshole. Her reasoning for being skeptical of a male option may be the result of a bad experience she had, but, even still, projecting it onto your BF is not okay. That or she has never experienced a relationship with a man that didn't objectify women like that. Either way, it sucks she wasn't excited for you. You clearly seem to be really happy in your relationship, but the plus side is you didn't talk to her often enough that she should be a major loss in your life. Congrats on finding love during the pandemic, BTW. NTA, your friend is an idiot. I specialize in sexual health and worked in a male prison for years, so I saw a lot of penises, and prior to that I worked in family planning and saw a lot of both penises and vaginas. Is my partner threatened that I may have seen a cock bigger than his or realized I might be bi at the sight of all those vaginas? No. Genitalia is generally not the prettiest part of any human's body. If anything, I would say looking at vaginas and dicks all day is kind of off-putting. Plus, in my experience, in a healthcare setting, those genitals generally aren't in the best condition and are usually accompanied by some pretty horrific smells. If anything, they make you more appreciative of the fact that your partner takes care of themselves. Some years ago, when my wife was a medical student, she told me they had an older man who was a former NFL player in for an examination. She was saying he was caught off guard when they said they went to perform a hernia check, turn your head and cough. He evidently had never had this performed on him, which was surprising as it was something I had experienced for many of my yearly exams. I was confused as to why my wife was in the room for something like that. Her reply was, "Honey, I performed that part of the exam." My mind instantly pictured her sitting on a stool in front of this man holding his balls in her hand. I quickly came to terms on what it meant for her being a doctor and all the different duties she had to perform. NTA. I have 4 brothers, 2 of them became MDs. Of all my brothers, the Objan was the only one that never went through a girls or yucky phase. He always had at least one good female friend since he started school in 1st grade, in addition to his male friends. Of all my brothers, he is the most caring and compassionate. He married in his 20s and has been married 30+ years. There has never been a hint of impropriety. He is a devoted husband and father and very successful in private practice with highest marks from his patients. Being a doctor is hard, but when I heard that he chose his specialty, I thought, of course, that is perfect for him. OP, your friend is kind of a nut, but I don't think you should get mad about it because people will say stupid, rude things, especially people who are probably jealous of your enviable match. I would keep this friend away from your fiancée. She might like to prove she's right. But don't make her foolishness your problem. Any desirable, successful man, especially a doctor, is going to have plenty of temptations to cheat if he is so inclined. A potential wife needs to be as sure of his good character, faithfulness and commitment as with a man of any other occupation. NTA. And I am going to reference 2 pieces of media to help illustrate a couple of reasons why. First, the one everyone knows, Friends. Anyone remember the scene where Rachel was flirting with an Objan? He compared working with vaginas to working at a coffee shop. Do you ever have one of those days where, if you see one more cup of coffee, you're going to completely lose it? Because it is a job. It is not a hobby or a kink, it is tedious, repetitive, sometimes gross, work. Second, from a very funny and somewhat dirty graphic novel called Sex Criminals, one of the characters starts dating an Objan and asks, "So, why vaginas?" His answer is that he actually never really wanted to work with vaginas, he wanted to work with babies. After a rotation in pediatric oncology, he wanted a job that dealt with the exact opposite. Bringing new life into the world seemed like the best option. Seriously, who looks at 4 years of pre-med, 4 years of med school, residency, student loans, etc., and think, yup, that sounds like a great way to see some pussy. There are many much easier, cheaper, cleaner, and better ways to see pussy. I don't trust doctors a whole lot these days. They lied to me for 20 years, preventing me from receiving life-altering treatment, but the one thing I can rely on is that, when they're looking at my vagina, they're about as aroused as my dentist is while filling a cavity.